The phone rang for a long time before it stopped. Ethan noticed it only because the sound felt out of place in the room. His apartment was usually silent at night, the kind of silence that comes from habit, not loneliness. He had trained it that way. No television, no music, just the soft hum of the refrigerator and the clock that ticked too slowly. He looked at the screen when the ringing ended. Unknown number. He stared for a second longer than necessary, then set the phone face down on the table. If it was important, they would call again. That was always his rule. Important things repeated themselves. They always had. Ethan was a man who believed in control. Not the loud kind that demands attention, but the quiet kind that shapes life from the inside. He planned his weeks carefully. He answered messages when it suited him. He returned calls when he felt ready. He did not rush emotion. He postponed it. People once described him as thoughtful. Later, they called him distant. He accepted both labels without argument. The phone did not ring again that night. He slept poorly, though he would not have admitted that to anyone. He dreamed of standing in a hallway lined with doors, each one ringing like a phone behind it. He woke before opening any of them. The next morning, the missed call still sat there. Unknown number. He almost deleted it, then stopped. A flicker of unease passed through him, thin and quick. He told himself it was nothing. Spam. A wrong number. He had learned not to feed discomfort with attention. At work, the day unfolded as expected. Emails, meetings, polite conversations that never crossed into meaning. His coworkers trusted him because he was reliable. He delivered what was asked. He never complicated things. Around noon, his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. This time, he hesitated. The office was quiet. No one was speaking. The sound felt exposed, as though the call had singled him out. He let it ring. One ring. 2. 3. He imagined answering. Imagined a voice he did not recognize asking for someone else. Imagined the mild relief of hanging up. Instead, he watched the call fade into silence. A strange thought followed him the rest of the day. Not fear, not urgency, just the sense that something had brushed past him and continued on without waiting. That evening, he stopped at the grocery store on his way home. He picked the same items he always did. He liked predictability. It reduced waste. At the checkout, the cashier glanced at his phone as it lit up on the counter. Unknown number. You're popular today, she said lightly. He forced a smile. Wrong person. She shrugged. Happens. The call ended before he could reconsider. At home, he cooked dinner and ate standing by the counter. He scrolled through messages without really reading them. Everything felt slightly delayed, like sound out of sync with movement. He checked his call history again. 3 missed calls. Same number. Something about that repetition unsettled him. He told himself he would answer the next time, just to clear it, just to regain order. The call came the following night. He was brushing his teeth when he heard the phone vibrating against the table. The sound was sharper this time, more insistent. He wiped his mouth quickly and picked it up. Unknown number. He answered. Hello. For a moment, there was nothing, just breathing. Not heavy, not panicked. Familiar in a way he could not place. Ethan, the voice said. His stomach tightened. Yes, he replied cautiously. Who is this? Another pause. Then, softer, you really don't have this number saved anymore. The words landed strangely, not accusatory, almost resigned. I'm sorry, he said. I think you have the wrong. It's me, the voice interrupted. It's Lena. The name pulled at something deep and dull inside him. Not pain, more like pressure. Lena, he repeated, testing it. Yes, she said. I wasn't sure you'd answer. He leaned against the counter. It's been a long time. I know. Silence stretched between them. It was not awkward. It was heavy with what had not been said. I called yesterday, she added. And earlier today. I saw, he said. He did not explain why he had not answered. Of course you did, she replied gently. That tone unsettled him more than anger would have. How did you get this number? He asked. You gave it to me, she said. Years ago. You said not to lose it. Another memory stirred. Vague. Incomplete. He remembered standing in the rain once. Remembered promising something he could not now name. What do you want, Lena? He asked too quickly. She exhaled slowly. I didn't call to want anything. That's usually why people call. I called because I needed to hear your voice, she said. And because I might not get another chance. His grip tightened around the phone. What does that mean? It means, she said carefully, that some things don't wait forever. Even the quiet ones. He closed his eyes. He had lived his life assuming that anything truly important would insist, would knock louder, would refuse to be ignored. But this call felt different. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I am," she said. "I just needed to know if you still were." That's a strange question. Not for us. He could not argue with that, though he did not fully understand why. "Can we meet?" she asked. The question hung in the air. He imagined rearranging his schedule, letting old feelings surface, reopening doors he had carefully sealed. "I don't think that's a good idea," he said. "I figured," she replied. No bitterness, just acknowledgement. "Then why call?" "Because," she said softly, "I didn't want silence to be the last thing between us." Another pause. "I won't call again," she added. "I promise." That frightened him more than if she had threatened to keep trying. "Lena," he began. But the line went dead. He stared at the phone long after the call ended. For the first time in years, control did not feel like safety. It felt like something he had been hiding behind. And Ethan did not sleep that night. He lay on his back, eyes open, staring at the ceiling as if it might explain what had just shifted. The apartment felt smaller than it had before the call, as though the walls had moved inward without asking permission. Every sound carried weight. The clock, the refrigerator, his own breathing, uneven and unfamiliar. He replayed the conversation again and again, searching for a moment he could have handled differently, a pause he could have filled, a sentence he should have finished. He had always believed reflection came after time had done its work. Now time refused to cooperate. By morning, he felt hollowed out. He went to work anyway. Routine had always steadied him, and he leaned into it with the focus of someone bracing against a strong wind. He answered emails quickly. He nodded at the right moments in meetings. No one noticed anything unusual. That both relieved and unsettled him. At lunch, he found himself scrolling through old contacts. Names he no longer recognized. Numbers without faces. He searched for Lena, unsure what he hoped to find. The name did not appear. Of course it didn't. He told himself that meant nothing. People changed phones. Contacts were lost. Memory was unreliable. Yet the absence felt deliberate, like a door quietly locked from the inside. That evening, he walked instead of taking the bus home. He needed the air. The city moved around him with its usual indifference. Couples passed. A woman laughed too loudly on her phone. Somewhere, a siren rose and fell. Life continued at its practiced pace. He wondered where Lena was now. Not what she was doing. Not who she had become. Just where she existed in the world. Whether she stood in a familiar kitchen or an unfamiliar room. Whether the call had unsettled her as much as it had him. When he reached his apartment, he paused at the door, hand on the handle. For a moment, he considered not going inside. The thought surprised him. He had never questioned returning home before. Inside, the silence greeted him as it always had. But now it felt intentional, almost judgmental. He sat at the table where his phone still lay. He picked it up and turned it over in his hands. The call log remained unchanged. No new messages. No follow-up. Just the promise she had made and kept. "I won't call again." The words echoed, heavier with each repetition. He thought about the way she had said his name. Not as if she were checking it. As if she already knew the answer. That night, he dreamed again of the hallway. This time, one door stood open. Light spilled from it, pale and unsteady. He took a step toward it, then stopped. Something held him back. Not fear. Habit. He woke before crossing the threshold. The days that followed were quiet. No unknown numbers. No interruptions. The order he had built returned, but it no longer fit him the way it once had. He noticed small fractures in his routines. A missed meal. A forgotten reply. He caught himself staring at nothing, waiting for something he could not name. On Friday evening, he found an old box while cleaning his closet. He did not remember putting it there. It sat on the highest shelf, dust thick along the edges. Inside were things he had not seen in years. Ticket stubs, a folded receipt, a photograph of two people standing too close together in the rain. Himself and Lena. They were younger, less careful. He barely recognized the expression on his own face. He was smiling without restraint, as if the future had not yet taught him caution. He sat on the floor, the photograph resting against his knee. He remembered now. Not everything, but enough. The arguments that had not sounded serious at the time. The way he had postponed conversations, promising they would talk later. The night she had waited for a call that never came. He had assumed there would be another chance. That there always was. He had been wrong then, too. The realization did not arrive as pain. It arrived as clarity. He understood now what she had meant. Some things did not announce their importance. They did not knock louder when ignored. They simply withdrew. The following week, Ethan took time off work. He did not tell anyone why. He barely knew himself. He walked through parts of the city he had avoided, cafes he used to visit, a small park where they had once sat, arguing about something trivial and believing it mattered. At the edge of the park stood a payphone. He had not noticed it in years. On impulse, he stopped. He stared at it for a long time. He did not know what number he would dial. He did not even know if she would answer. But the act itself felt necessary, as if movement mattered more than outcome. He lifted the receiver. It was dead. He laughed quietly at himself, the sound thin and brief. Of course it was. Nothing waited forever, not even symbols. He walked home slowly. That night, he opened his phone and typed a message he never sent. "Lena, it's Ethan. I should have answered sooner." He deleted it. He typed another. "I didn't know how to say this then, but I do now. Delete." Finally, he set the phone down and let it be silent. Weeks passed. Life did not collapse. That surprised him most. The world did not punish him for his inaction. His job remained. His routines functioned. People smiled and moved on. Yet something fundamental had shifted. He felt exposed in ways he had never allowed himself to feel before. One afternoon, a call came through. Unknown number. His heart surged. He answered immediately. "Hello." There was no voice. Just static. Then nothing. He stood there long after the call ended, phone pressed to his ear, listening to the absence. He understood then that this was the shape of consequence. Not drama, not closure, just the knowledge of what had been possible and was no longer reachable. That evening, he saved the unknown number in his phone. He named it Answered Too Late. He did not expect it to ring again. But sometimes, when the apartment grew quiet, he found himself hoping it might. Not because he believed it would change anything, but because, at last, he knew what it had been asking for.